Greetings, colleagues. Greetings, Madam Speaker.
Greetings, Sipho. Greetings, everyone. It's now past. I'm not sure how far is Jose FM. However, we'll have to start. Jose FM will find us. We are already live streaming. Good afternoon. Let me greet our beloved guests and residents at home who are tuned in on different platforms of social media and radio stations. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the weekly show known as The Talk with the Speaker of Council. My name is Nongceba Mulwele and I am the Speaker of Council. Please do follow me on my own social media page, which is Nongceba Mulwele on Facebook, and at speaker_COJ on Twitter, as we are live on these platforms. Today is another powerful session, ladies and gentlemen, where we get to learn and teach our communities. Let me take this opportunity to thank our host and partner, Dr. Fundile Nyati. I haven't seen him. I'm not sure whether he has already logged on. But thank you very much for providing us with this platform, as well as our radio partners, Jose FM, Eldos FM, Alex FM, Chai FM, and Pulse FM, who continue to support us in our endeavor to educate our communities on various topics relating to council business. A big thank you to everyone who has joined this evening and has joined this engagement. Fellow listeners and viewers, we as local government are officially in the election season. A final proclamation has been made this afternoon that the day of voting is the 1st of November 2021. We also know that voter registration weekend will be open on the 18th and the 19th of September 2021. Our topic for tonight is elections under COVID-19. We know that local government is one of the three spheres of government. Local government consists of municipalities, which is at the coalface of service delivery. We also know that our lives have been dramatically affected by COVID-19, forcing us to relook at the way we do most things, not only as a city, but as a country and the world over. There has been quite a lot of uncertainty relating to whether the elections are going ahead or not, but finally, we have a clear way forward. So today, ladies and gentlemen, we look at what it entails to host local government elections under the pandemic. I thought to bring a myriad of voices together in unpacking this topic so that we can hear from views, we can hear different views from all the citizens, especially our panelists. My panel today consists of Aluwani Chokwe. I think Aluwani is already here, who is the spokesperson for Youth ICT Council, who will kickstart the discussion by giving us a brief history on elections and the importance of the involvement of young people in this process. Aluwani, you are much welcome. We also have Siyabonga Twala, the UJ's SRC academic and quality officer, who will speak about voter apathy among young people. We have Dr. Tinanzo, Researcher Institute, who will speak to what is the implications of hosting local government elections during the pandemic. We have Mrs. Diana Muller from IEC in the city of Johannesburg, who will share the state of readiness of our systems during these elections, especially within such a period, short time that have been announced. We also have Mr. Thomas Sigama, the Deputy Director General for Civic Services, who will share the role of Home Affairs in the local government elections. To the panel, without waste of time, thank you very much for your presence and welcome to the show. I am not sure if Musha is already here or should I continue to ask a question?
Musha is in the meeting, Madam Speaker. Musha, over to you.
Musha is in the meeting. All right, maybe before I hand over to Musha, let me start with Aluwani Chokwe. Aluwani, if you could kindly unpack the history of the elections process and the importance of
with regards to the discussion
voting when it comes to elections. Over to you, Aluwani.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Good evening, comrades and colleagues. I'm not sure if I'm audible.
Yes, you are audible. You are.
Okay. I first wanted to protest as to why we were given 10 minutes, but that is okay. Having to understand the rich history that our country has and the fact that even our democracy is not a normal type of democracy. We come from a history of colonialism of a special type, which was also called apartheid, and also elements of colonialism, of neo-colonialism. In fact, we must never lose the sight of what our country has achieved post the democratic dispensation, in the sense that we are now even afforded these platforms where we can voice ourselves. We are afforded opportunities to go study even higher and go to fields of interest that we want, unlike historically where our parents were forced to do either nursing or teaching, because those were blue-collar jobs that were available to the then generation at the time. So the ruling party, in fact, has outlived the lifespan of liberation movements, in the sense that the harsh reality and the harshness of colonialism affected them so much that they wished to move away from it by any means necessary. This is why even when the ruling party is not fully transforming society, but people are saying this is still a much better government than a government that we had, because the government that they had was an abusive government, in the sense that they were denied their right to life, and there are also places that they were denied access to. Imagine you are denied access in the land of your forefathers. So it was, in fact, the UN has premised that apartheid was an injustice against humanity, and all its forces intact were ultimately premised the greatest injustice against humanity. Now, the first democratic elections in 1994 were a turning point in our country's trajectory, in the sense that even people of color or Black people could now decide on their government. And it is something that did not come easily. There are people that have laid down their lives for the fruits of the freedom that we enjoy today. We have read about the men and women of our country, the brave men and women of our country that left the country to go in exile, to train in order to try and sabotage the apartheid regime that had ruled the country at the time. And again, for young people, the importance come in this. We need to determine our country. We need to determine a future that we envision for ourselves. They have always said the revolution is the activity of the young. I can even date back to when the ruling party during apartheid was at its weakest. They formed a youth league so that the youth league could become its lifeline. So the importance of young people voting is that they determine what happens in their country. We cannot sit back and say, no, I found these processes already in place, but you are given an opportunity to say, look, this is for your personal interest. What do you envision? You become the change that you seek in this country. And again, in terms of the economy, I know that one of the documents of the liberation movement have premised that, I think it was the strategy and tactics document, that in our country, more than in any other country in the world, how our liberation is meaningless without economic liberation. It cannot be that obviously, yes, there are generations that have fought for the economic, the political liberation that we enjoy today. But it is still also upon us to say, okay, now that they have given us an environment where we can fight for a country that we can, we are given a position to say, fight for the economy. And us participating in elections also ensures that the economy gets to be owned. In fact, the commanding heights of the economy are owned by the majority of the people in South Africa, demographics being the people of color. So we should never downplay or lose sight of what our country has achieved and how hard our history was fought for. We've read of how people were killed in cold blood, how our people were denied opportunities, and we know that even English and other modes of civilization, not that there wasn't civilization historically, but they were denied to our people because they were seen as inferior. So we have an opportunity to rebuild a country that we want in an equal state. So to mean that whatever it is that we are unhappy about today, that the liberation movement is not fully living up to, we are able to say, okay, I'm able to go and register to vote and have my voice heard. You are participating in democracy. And for us to make sure that democracy works, we need to be active participants of it. In fact, I was saying a few weeks ago to my colleagues that I am appreciating how democracy is maturing in the sense that even though there's so much contestation, but it is the maturing of democracy that we even see new political parties that keep the liberation movement on their toes, wanting accountability. So it is the maturing of democracy that we actively need to participate in. And it is actually an injustice when we sit back at home and not participate in democratic processes that our forefathers and grandparents fought so hard for. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker.
Indeed. Thank you so much there, Luani, with that opening remarks as part of this evening civic education with the Speaker of Council. We're looking at the importance of going to the polls under a COVID-19 pandemic as well. I'm going to bring in Siabonga Twala to join the conversation right here on your number one dial. Twala, maybe you can kindly share with us the state of a youth vote and also why there's voter apathy among young people in South Africa.
Thank you so much, and good evening, Madam Speaker, fellow panelists, and the rest of our listeners that are joining in live and through the media platforms that are connected. First of all, I want to say that young people do not have a problem with voting if their votes actually mean something. The problem that we have here is what impact or what effects do the vote of our people actually make? I was conducting a young to like, why are people so not interested in voting? And I realized that there are so many questions that need to be answered in order to encourage the young person or the young Black child to actually participate in voting. And one of the questions is, what does voting mean for the Black child? What sort of transformation is going to be brought about as a result of them participating in local government elections? There were some shocking stats that were released by Bloomberg 2 weeks ago that currently South Africa has the highest rate of unemployment in the world. It's really appalling. Like I think we're currently sitting, they said we're currently sitting at 34.4%. That's the rate of unemployment. And it's the highest since 2008. So that means in the past 13 years, government has not have a solid plan to deal with unemployment. So what does that say to the young person that needs to vote? If you have people in government who do not have a plan to deal with the critical issues that our young people are actually facing, day by day, the rate of unemployment is rising. And government doesn't seem to have a solid plan as to how they are actually going to solve this issue. Instead, we have a lot of useless initiatives in the name of youth development or skill development, which are actually not effective and not actually delivering to the needs of our young. I mean, I once attended a youth development session whereby a motivational speaker was invited to tell people that if they actually get their mind in the right place, they are going to be good. I mean, what is that? How can you tell poor people that they just need to fix their mindset? People need solutions. They don't need motivation. And I feel like government really needs to do better in terms of youth and skill development programs and make sure that these programs are actually unskilling our people with the necessary skills that they need in order to change their lives. Like if you're going to do an entrepreneurship summit, and all you are doing is just teaching people on how or what they can do to register a business. What kind of assistance are you actually helping them? Because you did not actually unskill them with the proper qualities that are going to make sure that should they open those businesses, should they start those businesses, they are going to be able to maintain them and make sure that those businesses are successful. So we have a lot of what can be done to better the situation, but we don't have a lot of how can we actually do it. So there's of sound leadership in government, and that is really discouraging to our young people, and they don't see the need to participate in voting. I saw a shocking tweet last week. I think we all know Maps Maponyana. He has a restaurant, and he posted an advert that is looking for workers in his restaurant. And someone took a picture the next morning of people who were queuing up for an interview in that restaurant. And it was not even big positions. It was like positions like waiters, but people were blocking the street, lining up for an interview for a junior position at a restaurant. That is how critical unemployment is in South Africa. We have so many people. When you look at Stats SA results from March this year, there was an increase of 1.2% from the statistics of people who have lost or are discouraged from seeking work. So there are people who are not even interested in looking for employment anymore. That's how critical this thing is. It increased by 1.2%, and it's currently at 44.4%. In a population of, I think we have about 50 million or 60 million people, 44% are not even interested in seeking employment anymore because it is so difficult. And we've been told so many times that education is the key to success, but most of the people that are seeking employment and are not successful are people who are actually educated. So it brings us to a question of, is education really the key to success, or is proximity to the right people the key to success? Because there are people who are not educated, but because they know the right people, they are able to actually become successful. So there's a lot of transformation that needs to be done in government in order to encourage the young person to actually participate in voting. And another thing that I want to mention, we all know of like this other pandemic that we're facing in our country of gender-based violence. I mean, like our country is a crime scene for women. Every day a girl is either killed or raped, and that is really not a good thing. It's really sad for the girl child. Every day they need to live in fear, and throughout the past years there has not been a solid plan that government has actually applied to make sure that they actually tackle the issue of gender-based violence. And another critical issue that I want to raise, we want to applaud government for subsidizing condoms to make sure that people practice safe sex. But I think it will also be encouraging if government can subsidize sanitary pads to actually send a message that they care about the needs of the girl child. It cannot be that the girl child is struggling every time they need to go on their periods. They're struggling with the sanitary towels, but sex is actually more prioritized than the daily needs of the girl child. So I think that there really needs to be a change in priorities in terms of the kind of funding that governments actually put in order to assist the Black young child. And until that is done, young people will never be interested in voting because some believe that they just vote to sponsor the lifestyles of politicians' children, because in the current world, we live with these people. We go to school with children of politicians, and they are living a lavish lifestyle that we cannot afford. Not even our parents who are employed can afford those lifestyles. So every time you think of voting, you're like, I'm actually making sure that this person actually will get the best sneakers in the shop. I'm actually sponsoring the life of politicians with my vote. So I think there is a critical need for government to actually invest in sound leadership. We need sound leaders and people who will be interested in taking a part in voting again. In closing, this has also affected SRC elections because the University of Johannesburg alone has about 55,000 students. In the campus that I'm leading, we have about 8,000 students, but the voter turnout, it never exceeds 3,000 students. So a majority does not want to even vote for the SRC. And when you ask them, they're like, if the government is failing to lead this country in the appropriate manner, how can we actually trust that kids are actually going to lead this campus? And most of these people that are contesting are affiliated with the leading organization that is leading in government. So the failure of government also affects us as student leaders and institutions of higher learning, because students lose hope in us because our leaders that are in government are actually failing to lead this country in an appropriate manner. And therefore, students have lost trust in us because we also associated with those people. Every time you are like, are you going to participate in SRC election? They were like, what is the point? What is the point? Older people with 20 years, 30 years experience are failing, and you're expecting me to trust a fellow student who just joined the institution 2 years ago to actually make some decisions that are going to make sure that the struggles of a student are actually championed. It's really discouraging. So this conversation is a broad one, and I'm actually glad that we're having it. We can only hope that government is going to apply a lot of transformation, and we are going to have a better country. Thank you so much.
That is Siyabonga Twala raising some strong views there with regards to the issue of young people. He's from UJ SRC Academic and Quality Officer. I'm going to rope in Dr. Tina Nzo on this conversation as we proceed. I've got only just a few minutes with this panel. Doc, you can maybe just take us through what are the implications of hosting a local government elections during a pandemic. We have seen concerns coming from people. Maybe you can just allay our fears in that note.
Thank you very much for inviting me to participate in this very interesting debate. And I'm very happy to see that the majority of people who are participating are the youth, because they're the ones who are affected by the local democracy and the current status when it comes to the affairs of our country. Well, first to begin with, indeed, we are hosting local government elections under a pandemic that we have never had to deal with in our country post-1994, and that is COVID-19. And that has affected us tremendously, both socio, politically, and economically, and otherwise. So I think that the real essence of the issue is not just only about having political parties being worried about how they are actually going to have an election under these conditions, but also the anxiety that is drawn from the electorate themselves, where there's so much unpredictability under, the fiscal austerities that we are facing in the country. So there are so many things, there's a complex of intertwining things that we need to think about when we're talking about the elections. And here we are saying that we will be conducting a free and fair election. Indeed, constitutionally, we are obligated to conduct our election in order to avoid a variety of things that could happen if we do not do so. But at the same time, how free and fair is it under these precarious conditions? And when I'm talking about precarious conditions, these issues are relating to what the former speakers have spoken about issues affecting the youth and the apathy and disillusionment that comes with that. How are we going to deal with that? Is the youth motivated enough to go to the polls and actually go and cast their votes? I mean, let's not even go any further. Last year, we had, in 2016, we had an electoral outcome that really was at the brink of saying that, is it a really free and fair election when we only had 57% of our people coming out to vote for local government elections? And by the way, this is not just a new phenomenon for South Africa. Even in England, for example, England had its elections in 2019, and the electoral turnout was only 12% of the voting age. And it goes back to the same issues. Even Western developed democracies are faced with issues of apathy, they're faced with issues of disillusionment, and also not seeing the kind of change that they want to change. So these are the kinds of precarious things that we are looking at in terms of the unpredictability, and also taking into consideration that political parties and smaller parties and even independent candidates have got a very short period of time in terms of campaigning and coming out, with very innovative policies that can actually change the situation. But how do you come up with innovative policies when you've got fiscal austerities in the country? So, but this must also be viewed as an opportunity. For example, the deliberations that we are having today that is hosted by Jozi FM and the Office of the Speaker, in terms of facilitating that kind of participation that we need to deliberate on the frustrations, allow the youth to lament their issues that they are facing, but also giving them a platform of being innovative in terms of saying, this is what we want to see happening moving forward. If you're coming with manifestos that are going to be looking at, changing the socio-economic landscape in our local cities, these are the kinds of things that they are expecting politicians and those who are standing as individual candidates to represent. So in other words, there needs to be this deliberate democracy that needs to unfold as we are moving towards the elections within this very short period of time, using social media to our advantage. The youth are on social media. They are talking on social media. They are expressing themselves on social media. They are sharing some of their innovations on social media. Tap into those platforms. TikTok, #1, it has hit #1 beyond Facebook and Instagram, because those are where conversations are beginning to emerge. So we need our political representatives to take advantage of using what we call e-democracy. This is the time to use e-democracy in a developing country such as South Africa, because other countries have even went beyond e-democracy by actually having the electronic and mailing voting, which in South Africa, we are not yet ready for that because of the complexities that we are coming from, where you have the urban and the rural divide. So right now, the platforms that we have, we should use them as our campaigning trails and think about exactly what it is that we need to do to change the situation on the ground. I think that's another opportunity that we can step in and bring the youth forward to share their views about what local government needs to do in order for them to participate fully in the elections. Let me end there.
Dr. Nzo, thank you so much. I think, Speaker, that's where I park it for this week. You will take over from here as I will conclude here. Thank you so much for participating for this evening. I am going to end it then Speaker will continue as we continue with the discussion right here on your #1 dial. she will just take over and continue on that note. What I'll do now, we're going to hear.
Have you tested positive for COVID-19? Consider this clinical research trial being conducted around the world and in South Africa, testing for a possible treatment.
Thank you very much to Joseph M. Thank you very much, Moshe, and the listeners. Time was indeed too short today for you to be with us. But let me then go to Mrs. Diana Muller to talk about the role of IEC in local government elections, and just to also indicate to our viewers if the system is ready and what are the strategical plans under COVID-19 regulations. Hello, is Diana around? Am I audible?
Madam, we can hear you. I don't see Diana here, madam.
Madam Speaker.
Oh, I'm told she is replaced by Mr. Mospito.
Yes, Mr. Thomas is one of the panelists who's replacing Mrs. Diana.
Okay.
Today is Mr. Thomas.
Good evening, Madam Speaker. Evening to the listeners and the viewers. I must just make one point of correction. I'm not replacing anyone from IEC. My name is Thomas Sigama. I'm from the Department of Home Affairs. I have been invited, Madam Speaker, to talk to the role of Home Affairs in an election mode. So I thought I should just make that correction. So let me start by echoing the same.
You are indeed one of the panelists.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. Let me start by echoing the same sentiment that were raised by previous speakers in making sure that we also make sure that we deliver a free and fair elections at the end of the day. Home Affairs plays a pivotal role in elections, and perhaps it's better for one to speak to the mandate of Home Affairs, that including the role and responsibilities tendered by the department. So as Home Affairs, we are responsible for the management of the National Population Register. We are, by National Population Register, we are referring to issues relating to birth registration, registration of marriages, red death registration. You know, as you are born, you come to Home Affairs. When you change status from being a minor and you discovered someone whom you love and you want to marry that person, then you still come to Home Affairs for Home Affairs to register your marriage. And even when you pass on, it becomes the role of Home Affairs to register the death of your loved ones. So going further, we are also responsible for the management of the identity documents. So we've got systems in place that deals with that. And amongst others, we do have a system called a Home Affairs National Identification Systems, which keeps both the fingerprints, the demographics, and all information relating to a person. That information helps us to keep an accurate and the most updated National Population Register. So those are some of the issues that Home Affairs deals with. But in terms of the elections, I would like to place it on record that Home Affairs really works very closely with IEC. We provide them with our database called from the National Population Register. That information helps the IEC to build its voters roll. They also perform verifications against our databases and all the information that our citizens and non-citizens have supplied to the department. So in terms of our work that we do, we have aligned our services with that of IEC, starting from the operational hours, wherein we have now worked closely with them and also reported that we will be opening all our offices countrywide on the date that the IEC has already indicated. So for voter registration, we will be opening all our 412 offices countrywide, of which Gauteng contributes about 62 offices. So all offices will be opened on the 18th and the 19th, and we'll also make sure that we align ourselves with the times that the IEC has already set at the nation. So we'll be opening all our offices from 8 o'clock up until 5 o'clock. But should there be a need to extend our operating hours, we will make sure that we extend our times as well. In terms of services, we will be issuing all our IDs that are lying in our offices. We'll be making sure that anyone who would like to apply will be given an opportunity to apply and collect. And also those people who have got queries relating to their own personal particulars, they will be given an opportunity to come and visit our offices so that all the queries that they have are resolved in those particular days. So we are really grateful to be given this opportunity to share with the viewers and the listeners so that they can also join us on the 18th, the 9th, and the 19th, and also on the date for the votes. We will make our services available to everybody. Suffice to say, Madam Speaker, we have got quite a number of identity documents in our offices that remains uncollected. At the moment, as we speak, we have got more than 375,000 identity documents, smart ID cards in particular, that lies in our offices and uncollected. And I must say, Madam Speaker, that the highest number of uncollected IDs are in this province, which is Gauteng. And we have got more than 100,000 IDs that are lying in all our offices uncollected, and the highest number being in our Johannesburg centers. And we are now making a clarion call for all the viewers, the listeners, to visit our offices so that they can come and collect their IDs. We have made provisions for anyone who would like to collect his identity documents or a smart card to then come and join our dedicated queue for collection only. That will then make you save time so that when you get there, you just have to make sure that you have got your receipt ready, your ID number ready, then our officials will gladly assist you. We promise you collection doesn't take a lot of time. It takes not more than 15 minutes while you are in the office. We are aware that while you are outside, you may take a bit of time, but bear with us as we are now dealing with queue management. So we have now made provision to segregate all the queues so that those that are there to collect should just be kept separate so that they don't have to waste time for collection. Those who would like to apply on the dates I mentioned above, then they are now also given an opportunity to then come and apply for the documents. ID is the most important document where we like all our members, even particular clients, to then make sure that they take care of it. Because without an ID, you won't be able to vote. Without an ID, you may not be able to transact with the banks. Without an ID, certain institutions like banks may not allow you to get your money that you may have saved with them. So one would also like to indicate, Madam Speaker, that we do have quite a number of service branches that we are having. We've got more than 100 mobile units that we are deploying countrywide as well, and of which Gauteng has been allocated 8 mobile units, which will then also be used on the date for the voter registration as well as on the date for elections. So we are also having the banks. We've got 27 banks that are connected, of which 17 of them are in Gauteng alone. And we are also saying those who have applied through banks, please make sure that you then honor your booking slots for collection, as well as application of your smart ID cards and passports if you also want to apply for a passport. So those who have lost their documents have also have an opportunity to also apply for the so-called temporary identity certificate. That's the paper that you can also use for voting. But of course, that will be subject to verification by Home Affairs officials. And only when your documents are verified, that's where you will be issued with a temporary certificate. So we stand ready for all these services. And we are saying, come one, come all, and let's join hands and then visit our stations for such services and make sure that we collect our IDs. Madam Speaker, I thought maybe I should end here, and thanks very much for your time. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sikama. Thank you very much for that informative input. Do we have IEC? Do we have someone representing IEC in the meeting?
It seems not, Madam Speaker, so perhaps we can move on to the Q&As from the viewers.
All right.
They are struggling to connect.
Okay, can we move on to the Q&As? Both on social media as well as on the chat group, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Good evening to all the colleagues, and very much thank you for the comments. Just on social media, Madam Speaker, I'll run them quickly. There are people that are excited and interested in this conversation. They're happy that we are hosting such a very hard-hitting conversation. Benny Swartz says, we indeed need a solid plan for unemployment. I agree that we need a plan that is sustainable towards solutions that will change the lives. Our EPWP programs need exit strategies that will put the skills required into real life solutions that will empower the beneficiaries. Go on, Melusi Nyati says, will the IEC accept temporary IDs as our local Home Affairs at Maponya is not issuing IDs? Lindo Dlamini says, why has the IEC not asked Department of Home Affairs to assist people who have lost their IDs so that they can participate in the local government elections? Home Affairs should have a mobile offices during this election process. Ntombi JJ says, one of the reasons young people are not voting is because they are not being educated enough on how government and elections work. One must be in the space to understand. Mziligazi Nkubego says, young people, go out and vote. It's your right. You have the powers to make the change we want to see. Let's go vote, even if it takes us 2 days. Lillian says, it's time we vote online. Let's move with the times. The last comment says, thank you very much for hosting this debate. Many challenging ideas and views from the youth, but it is food for thought. So those are the comments for now, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much, colleagues.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Sipo. You have also read the ones on the chat group. Okay. I've just been informed that we have Mr. Charles from IEC, and there was also a question on IEC. I'm not sure if Mr. Charles is already on the platform.
Madam Speaker, is logging in. He's not yet on the platform.
Okay.
Logging in now. Thank you, Madam
No,
Speaker.
it's fine. It's fine. Let us go back to our panelists just to respond on the questions that were raised. But I would like to add a question on Home Affairs. You spoke about the volumes you have of uncollected IDs. So the question is, other than this platform, how do you inform the people that their IDs are at Home Affairs? Do you have a program that inform people that they have to go and collect their IDs? And then the second one is on mobile units. You made mention of the 8 mobile units you have. I thought you were saying in Gauteng, if not Johannesburg. Do you allow requests? Can we make requests to Home Affairs for a mobile unit on urgent circumstances? For example, if there are people whose houses have burnt down and we're requesting mobile unit to be taken to that area. Can we still do that? I know you used to do it before. I'm not sure now. If you could maybe respond to that. Let me start with Aluwani. Aluwani, there were questions that were asked. I see Mr. Rafik Charles is here. Maybe let me start with Mr. Charles. Good evening, Mr. Charles, and thank you very much and welcome for stepping in. Are you there? Can I get an indication that you are connected?
Good evening. Yes, I'm connected.
Okay, thank you very much. There was a question that was directed to IEC, which is about the role of IEC in local government elections, and is the system, the IEC system, ready for the upcoming elections of the 1st of November? And what are the strategical plan or the strategic plan under COVID-19 regulations? If you could just take our viewers through, we are streaming live. We have viewers and followers who are listening and they have an interest on the question that I've asked.
Okay, thank you, Speaker. Let's break down the question. First of all, in state of readiness, yes, we will be ready. We have no choice but to be ready. We can't let the country down. So we will be ready to run these elections. We are fortunate and misfortunate to basically run a registration weekend. The fortunate part is it will be like a dry run for the elections, which is in immediately 4 weeks after the registration event. In terms of readiness for the registration weekend, yes, we are ready. There's still a few minor details that needs to be done. Our staff are being trained, or rather refresher training staff was already trained. In terms of the COVID-19 protocols, we have a set of protocols. It is going to be difficult to control, but we're also hoping that the president is going to lower level 3 to level 2, perhaps. That should assist. But in terms of our protocols, yes, nobody will be allowed to enter without a mask. We have sanitizers. Our venues will be supplied with foggers for our staff. Yes, we have markers that we're going to be placing outside for voters to a social distance. We are going to be very much dependent on voters to follow protocols because we don't have a lot of staff for this event. So we will appeal to voters that when you come, you are welcome to come to a voting station. However, there's also other platforms. You don't even need to leave your house. The IEC has recently initiated the voter registration system where a voter can actually register online. The voter would require his ID to be scanned and sent through to IEC. But the process is very, very simple. We've had quite a number of people starting to register also. Changing of address is even simpler. We request voters to create a profile. And once the profile is created, you just type in your ID and it will take you through to your profile and show you where you are registered. It will then give you an option to change the address. You can then either type in the address or you can then search the address on the map and the system will put you in your correct voting district. Yes, and another innovation that we have is, I'm sure we've heard of the VMD. Now, the VMD will also be able to, with the VMD, you'll also be able to register at any voting station for any voting station. But we encourage that you go to your voting station. However, if you find yourself not at your voting station, we can register you, but we will direct you to your voting station. The voter will receive an SMS confirming registration. I hope I've answered a chunk of it.
Yes, you have, Mr. Charles, and thank you very much. And once more, thank you for stepping in. There was a question that was asked by one of our viewers that is IEC going to accept temporal IDs, as there is a problem of IDs at Maponya Mall. So, and people are being issued with temp IDs. So is IEC going to accept it? You don't have to respond now. You can respond when you come back. May I then give this opportunity to Alwani? Ms. Chokwe, if you could respond and also do your parting shots. Unfortunately, we only have up until past. As you respond, also do your parting shot input. You may also comment on some of the input that was made by other panelists. Is Alwani still around? Alwani? All right, let's go to Mr. Twala, Siyabonga Twala. Comments on the questions and your closing remark. What's going on now? Am I audible?
Yes, madam,
Yes,
you are.
Speaker.
Oh, okay. I thought it's me who has a problem. Okay, where is Alwani and Siyabonga? They're not here. All right.
Here, perhaps they need to unmute themselves, Madam
They need
Speaker.
to unmute. Okay. Alwani,
Unless
are
they're
you
having
around?
trouble.
Okay, it looks like there's a problem. Let's go to Dr. Tinanzo. Madam Tinanzo. Oh, there's Siyabonga Twala coming. All right. Thank you, Mr. Twala.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. I don't know if I'm audible.
You are. You are audible.
No, thank you so much. This was a very fruitful discussion, and there was one comment that I saw on the chat box about what the city of Johannesburg and the IEC or what kind of initiative are they going to be embarking on to ensure that young people actually participate in voting. So I think perhaps there is something that needs to be looked at from your side, from the city of Johannesburg and IEC side, in helping young people to even register to vote, because from engagements that we've had with students specifically, a lot have not even registered to vote. So that means they are not going to participate in the next elections unless there are initiatives that are actually implemented to make sure that there's proper voter education and why they actually need to take a stance in voting, so that they actually contribute to making a change to the current state of the country. So yeah, in closing, I just wanna give thanks to you, to thank you us to this discussion. Was very fruitful, and we are hoping that there are more initiatives that the city is going to apply in order to ensure that young people are actually prioritized and their struggles are championed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Twala. Dr. Tinanzo, your response to our viewers as well as your parting shot.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I must thank you for facilitating this debate, and also thanking you for inviting PARI to engage with young people. The only message that I have, which is with regards to a comment about the youth not having the necessary education that is related to voting and elections and democracy. I still continue to say that this is the time where we seize the moment, where we get to engage and get into robust debates with the youth on online platforms, because we need to orientate particularly first-time voters in terms of what democracy is, you know, the importance of local representative democracy and how it ties into decision making that has to do with the socio-economic changes and status of the youth. So my last comment is that let us get into those platforms, the IEC, the City of Johannesburg, make use of those platforms. That's where you will get the youth more engaged. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Thank you very much, Doc. Let's hear from Mr. Thomas Sigama. If there are any questions to respond on, or you do your closing remark.
Thanks very much, Madam Chair, and thanks very much to the listeners and the viewers. Indeed, there were a few questions that were raised in terms of those people who how are we going to inform people so that they can come and collect their IDs? So to start with, we've got a system that generates SMSs to all clients who have applied, and it then sends them to all clients to notify them about the IDs that are lying in our offices uncollected. So that's the first a point that we normally use to make sure that we notify our clients. Then the second one is we normally use the so-called Stakeholder Forum. Those forums have been formed countrywide in each province. They're being chaired by councillors in some stages, speakers of most of the municipalities. So they do have their own meetings. They meet regularly, and they always inform clients to come and collect their IDs for purposes of elections. We also have the community radio stations where we were given free slots in most cases, a province, wherein we go there and inform the nation about the number of uncollected IDs that are still lying in our offices. Then there was a question around the request for mobile units that could be used for services. Yes, Madam Speaker, as I've indicated, we have got 8 mobiles assigned for Gauteng, but countrywide, we have got 100. So during elections and even before elections, we make arrangements. We've got schedules that have been prepared throughout the country. And in all days, normally align our events with that of the constituencies, wherein as and when they've got events, they invite us. Even other sister departments invite us so that we can join hands in rendering services to the nation. So yes, our doors are open for Madam Speakers and all councillors to line up with the provincial offices so that we also prepare schedules to include them in our daily schedules that we have, because we work closely with the Department of Education and other stakeholders, and we make sure that we don't disturb learning. We take these mobiles to schools where we take application and also take the smart cards or the ID books back to their schools. So my last remarks is just to make a clear call to all clients that are sitting at home, viewers that are out there, to visit our offices so that they can collect their IDs. As I've indicated, we have got about 375,000 IDs that are lying uncollected. So we're saying, make time to go and collect if you have not yet collected. And those who have lost IDs, also to touch base with what the IEC was about to say. A TIC, or a temporary identity certificate, is a form of identity. It's also recognized by law. So it should be used without any hesitation. So I thought I should also raise that. And the last point is around the operating hours, to say, let's take note of the operating hours as set out by the IEC. We make sure that we don't close doors before our clients have collected their IDs. Thanks very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Sigama. Let me quickly go to Rafik Charles. Mr. Charles, your closing remark. I've heard that the question on the IDs have been responded to, but if you want to make an addition, and also your closing remarks.
Yeah, sure, ma'am. Thanks. Just to confirm, yes, thank you to my colleague, Mr. Sigama. Thank you very much. Yes, you've answered it correctly. TICs are most definitely accepted. Anybody may go with the TIC. Driver's licenses, however, not accepted. Only your identity card, green barcoded ID, or you can get the TIC. Those three documents are accepted for registration purposes and voting purposes. The question with the youth, yes, it's just so unfortunate that the time is caught up with us, and this election must happen so quickly. We had intended to come to the universities to come do some voter education, but unfortunately, as you can see, time is not on our side. Registration weekend is next weekend. So I would also appeal to all voters or the youth. We've actually, on our side, we've actually created a voting station at the campus. We have one voting station at APK, and then we've got another voting station outside DFC, and the one at Soweto campus, that's in the campus. So there's 3 voting stations. We've got another one at WITS Education Campus. That is to assist students to actually register and bring the voting stations closer to them. So we appeal to everybody, please, when you come early, but you don't have to also come. You can go to www.elections.org.za, and there's a tab that would say, would ask you what you'd like to do. If you want to register, you go to the registration part. It's got a new little icon flashing on it. If you want to do just a change of address, you just say, I want to change my address, and it will guide you through there. The important thing is that you need to create a profile and you need to have a cell phone. So yes, for this, for next weekend, good luck to all the students. Please, the IEC office is based in Braamfontein, and there's also one based at Auckland Park, the white building. So you're welcome to go there if you need anything. Just as a parting shot, also we would require staff, quite a huge number of staff to work for us. So this is an invitation that you can also go online and apply online, or alternatively just go to one of our offices and apply there. Our staff will assist you to fill in those applications. You must be registered to vote to work for IEC. So yeah, that's it, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Charles. Is Ms. Alwani around? So that I don't...
Yes, Madam Speaker, just a second. I'm just moving to a quieter place.
All right. Okay, we know you have elections. Sorry.
Okay, I'm okay now.
Okay.
So in closing, and as I've historically mentioned, that we need to determine the type of country that we want to live in. For one, as Sia had mentioned about gender-based violence, Interpol has named South Africa the world's rape capital, with women in the country more likely to be raped than educated. So us voting would mean we put in place the necessary policy legislative directives that say gender-based violence should be seen as a grave threat, particularly to the lives of women and children. Secondly, the World Bank has named South Africa the most economically unequal society in the world. Commanding heads of the economy must be represented by the demographics of our country, which is Blacks. And the only way that we can do that is if we exercise our vote as young people. And in closing, Madam Chair, we are faced with a rather disconcerting task of leading the social emancipation program to its logical conclusion. The principle remains that there are necessary decisions that have to be taken in the interests of advancing the national democratic struggle, particularly to address realities confronting the South African youth. For the sake of the Freedom Charter, the same aspirations of our people, young people, let's go out and participate in our democracy and vote. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Maybe before I do my closing remark, I just want to say to young people, especially of Johannesburg, that, you know, a vote is a hard-won right, you know, in our nation. People fought for this right. So it is important that you vote. It doesn't matter how much you are aggrieved, but you cannot participate and you cannot make change if you are outside. You have to vote, and the vote is your voice. We are really requesting and pleading young people to vote. We are hearing the concerns of young people that were raised, particularly by Siyabonga, and we will take them up with the mayor as well as with the MMC, particularly the MMC for economic development around issues that relate to youth unemployment in the city. But I must say that the city is aware of the unemployment rate, particularly in our city. That is why the executive mayor, we invited him at some point not so long ago on this platform. And he spoke about the interventions that are in place in the city of Johannesburg to actually tackle the unemployment. He spoke about the 90 million that has been set aside, and also what we will do then, it is to follow up on those programs. And I know as well for the fact that there is a youth desk that is being, it has been there, but it is now being taken to another level where it is going to be exactly in the office of the city manager and the executive mayor. And that is an intervention to also deal with the issues of youth unemployment in our city. So there are a number of programs that the mayor has announced. We shall maybe in due course call the mayor back to come and talk about those programs as well as the MMC for economic development. I just wanted to indicate to our young people in Johannesburg that the leadership of the city is aware, and or government of the city is aware of the unemployment rate, and there are interventions that are put in place. And we are very, very, very concerned about that. As a result, when we do employment in our offices as the leadership of the city, we focus more on young people. For example, in my office as Sia, I have a lot of young people in my office, people who are working behind this program and who are coordinating this program that we are doing today are young people. And I know that all the offices, we have taken a very sober decision that we are going to have young people employed in the city. I know that is a drop in the ocean, but there are many programs, as I say. So with that said, I want to thank you very much. Thank you for this powerful session. Thank you to our panel and listeners at home who took the time to watch and listen, and our panel members who took time to also educate our citizens, as that is what we do every week to empower our people. And thank you for your engagements on different social media platforms and radio stations, for broadcasting live, and those who will be broadcasting tomorrow and any other day on this evening's topic. This is a very important topic where we talk about the importance of voting and also the measures that are put in place by IEC during this pandemic. We are calling upon all our citizens to register for vote on the 18th and 19th of this month, September, and also to go and cast your vote on the 1st of November. And then I would love to conclude with this quote, ladies and gentlemen, and I quote, it says, "We are always going to have prejudices. I don't think we can change society. You can only change individual by individual, and you can change yourself," close quote. Thank you very much. Until we meet again next week, Wednesday, for another important topic engagement at this time on this platform. Thank you so much and have a good night. And thank you to all our staff members who have been working towards this great day of these great discussions. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.